afternoon, everybody. Welcome in to the Maize and Blue Reviews. Good afternoon, Michigan football. A show where we talk about Michigan football, and it's a great time to be talking about Michigan football about halfway through the regular season. Games getting bigger and bigger. They have a big one on tap, as everyone knows, coming up tomorrow night, and that's going to be the biggest thing that we will talk about. I think we'll talk about the most. I ask you out there, the folks that are watching this live, and if you're listening to this back, maybe you work all day. I can understand that. And you catch the replay. But if you're ever free at 2 o'clock on a Friday or a Wednesday or a Monday, feel free to jump on in and answer some of our questions. Today's question for you: do you feel like this game is going to be more on the offense for Michigan? Or are you looking towards the other side and you think it's going to be more on the defense? 99% of the time, we're just talking about Michigan. Today, we alter those percentages because the Tigers are in a Game 5. I'll give you some thoughts on that coming up at the end of this broadcast. But, here we are, Michigan and USC for tomorrow. We've looked at the numbers all week long. We've been paying attention to USC all year long. We know that it's a 7:30 kick, and we know that USC is favored. And we know that USC has a good quarterback and a QB, that under Lincoln Riley, he has the receivers. They're going to be a good offense. Very good, great offense. I don't know. They're going to put up over 30 points. If I'm just sitting around with everyone right now, that's what we're doing, and we get a blank sheet of paper and we start talking about, well, what are some of the things that are going to bode well for Michigan? I would say not getting into a shootout. So that would, to me, be a score in the 30s. If the score gets into the 30s, the less I like Michigan's chances, because Michigan, they haven't shown thus far that they are this passing juggernaut, a team that can, trade blows with a high octane offense like I think that, and you think that USC is. So they're going to want to keep it in the 20s. Good news for Michigan is they have exactly the kind of offense that can control the clock. And I know Wednesday we were discussing whether or not, time of possession is going to be a big deal. And, you can argue, well, no, scoring touchdowns and not kicking field goals. It's always fun. Yeah. I'm with you on that, but I think I keep thinking, keep USC over on the sideline, their offense, and let Michigan get some of those 12, 13, 14, 15-yard or 15-play drives, and that keeps their defense fresh, and it just exerts the power and the physicality of the game to the team that is able to do that. And, if you're looking for, one of those series, Michigan had their second series in the fourth quarter against Nebraska. They had a 16-play, 77-yard drive. Now they ended up kicking a field goal there, but that also put them up by 10 points, and that was the ball game when it came down to that. So I'm thinking that controlling the line of scrimmage and running the ball and keeping the game in the 20s is what Michigan wants. That's as I look at it. Now, I wanted to go back to a question that was put out by Michigan Mark on Wednesday, when he said that considering that Michigan against Power 4 teams this year, that was Wisconsin last week, and then Nebraska before that, and then Oklahoma before that, that all of those teams had the ball first against Michigan, and they marched right down the field on them. And it's true. Oklahoma went 75 yards. Nebraska went 70 yards, went for it on the 4th and short and wasn't able to get it. But then even last week against Wisconsin, the Badgers took the ball, pushed Michigan all over the field, and went down and scored a 75-yard drive. So Mark's question was, if Michigan wins the coin toss, you think it would be wise for them to say, no, well, we want our offense to go out there first, considering what's happened in these 3 Power 4 games? It's an interesting question. I would defer, and I would look back. If we were sitting here doing the same thing in 1997, 2 out of their first 3 games, and I think game 2 that year was against Baylor. So it would have been against Colorado and Notre Dame. Colorado and Notre Dame both scored on the first drive of the game, and then Michigan, battened down the hatches and wiped them out. And then, Michigan ended up being, one of the great defenses in 97, 2 times in 2023. So it's been 3 times that they've had these long drives, although you could say against Nebraska that they didn't score. So maybe that one shouldn't be in there, but they did go 70 yards down the field, whatever. 2 times in the entire 2023 season did a team score on the first drive. Purdue had a field goal drive on their first series, and then Ohio State had a touchdown. So you might have been thinking, oh, this doesn't bode well for the Maize and Blue. Buckeyes went right down and scored first. There's the idea that so you want to, you're adjusting, right? If you're Wink Martindale and you see how things play out, maybe whatever it is, whatever scheme wise, and then he makes the adjustment over here and turns this, and then Michigan settles in and they're okay. Does it really matter if the offense is going out there first or the defense? I like the idea of being able to close the half and try to get some points. And then, you're sitting there saying, we get the ball in the second half, let's come out. And you can really, some people call it the middle 4. You can really do some damage in that middle 4 if you're getting a field goal at the end of the half and you come out and, you get that first possession. And, especially if you feel good about your adjustments and what you're doing offensively. So, that's a long answer to Mark's question. It's a good one. It gives you some thought. It was so good, Mark, that I sent it to Josh Henschke, who does his big hitters, his questions. And he takes them in a mailbag form, and then he comes out and answers those. And I put that one on there. I'll have to see. I believe today is when he reveals it. He delivers the mail over on the Maize and Blue Review, and we'll have to see if he is like me, that it's not. It's interesting. It's something that you would want to do better, but not so much that you're sitting here saying no. We want to go on offense first because the defense has not held up against the big time opponents. I would say, advantage of being able to receive the kick. We'll see what they do. It'll be some intrigue. I'll definitely be watching that to see how it plays out. But that's what I would do when it comes down to it. Now, like I said, it's great to have feedback, and so you ask for it, and then people come up and then they give you some of that feedback. And it is a great weekend. It's been a great week if you're a sports fan. A lot of my weeks are just spent waiting around for Saturday. Sure, I like the NFL and I watch it on Sunday. Like watching the Lions. I'll take in a Monday Night Football game. If the baseball playoffs are on, sure, I'll check it out. That the Tigers were involved in it takes it to a whole different level. And then I'm not a sucker. I just like opening nights for both the Pistons and the Red Wings. Of course, I like opening night in college football, but everything else. But so you had the Red Wings last night. That didn't go really well. I got the Tigers again tonight. Yeah, it's a great time to be a sports fan. Thank you, Ferris, for sure. For the kind words. And people are fired up and ready to go. Matthew's fired up. DVR is fired up, and he wants that D to get out there and go. Clay is feeling confident in Michigan's chances in Cali tomorrow. Ferris has indicated that he is presenting a hot take. And Ferris's hot take is that Sharon Moore is going to let Bryce Underwood throw to Samaj Morgan, and he is going to get us a TD. I am a Samaj stan, and I believe in him. Well, I'm a fan of Samaj Morgan going back to his freshman year, the national championship year, where it wasn't just the big punt return in the Big Ten championship game. There were another number of other grabs that he made and his run after the catch that I thought that guy's going to be he is a player. He's going to be a star. And then last year happened, and the whole thing with the not having a quarterback. And then we get into this year, and then this year the drops have happened, which is frustrating. And that's not just him, and then there's others. I think what you're saying is a strong possibility for a couple reasons, Ferris. One is that last week, even though you had Andrew Marsh emerge, and even though you had someone like me saying, forget Samaj Morgan and everyone else, the majority of the targets and passes should be going to McCulley, Marsh, and Klein, and Hansen when he gets back. Forget everybody else. If you just look even back to last week when Samaj was having difficulty again hanging on to the ball, and then he had another one where he was bobbling it around and everything else. They kept peppering. They kept going to him. They have to feel that he is going to break off one, that he is going to be this dangerous game buster for them, big play ability that is going to show, whether it's going to be on special teams as a punt returner. It's been an adventure there, or as a wide receiver, either catching the ball around the end around. We have seen it. We see the highs, we see the lows, the Samaj Morgan experience, whatever you want to call it. It can be frustrating. Now we're waiting for the other side where you say, well, that is why they keep doing what they're doing, because he can take one the distance. Tomorrow would be a great time for that, Ferris. Great time. Clay is trying to talk about that USC is baiting Michigan into a shootout. Just smash on that soft D. I agree, Clay. The game to me, we sit around talking about, throwing the ball, drops, all these other things. Tomorrow's game is on Justice Haynes and Jordan Marshall on that offensive line, and smashing their way to victory. That's the way that it looks like they should do it. That's the way I think that Sharon Moore will want to do it. And then I think that Chip Lindsey will be in agreement, and that is going to be the biggest part of the game plan. I mean that they're not going to throw the ball at all. You say that, this is not Penn State 2023, but no, it is. That's where Michigan's advantage is, and they should take advantage of where they have an advantage. They need to go out there and play to win the game. That was from Herb Edwards. Herb Edwards. Sounds weird saying Herb, but whatever. Okay. All right. Let's get a couple more in here. Is it more on the offense, on the defense? David says he thinks the defense needs to go out there first series playing some assignment football instead of looking to make the big play. Yeah. Well, when you say that, the big play, that reminds me of Hillman because he comes in and he's been so good and it's fun. I mean, he is the hit man and he is, but I'd just rather, instead of Hillman, making the big plays and the wow, oh, crunch, and he jacked him up. I just like him to make the tackle and get, the other player on the ground. But, it helps out a defense that's going up against I call it prolific. I don't know, high powered. Prolific sounds like, these guys are maybe giving them too much credit, but a prolific passing attack is pressure. And Michigan has two guys coming off the edge that provide pressure. And Barham, who is just almost every game, is being more of a factor that way. And what he's able to bring as a pass rusher. And then Derek Moore is one of the best in the country that way. Having those two guys zeroing in on Miava is something that I feel pretty good about with Michigan. So that's going to help those corners out. Nothing's going to help a corner out better or more than getting pressure up front on the quarterback, so those guys can do what they do back there. So that's it. Listening to some of the Michigan pods, you would think that they are Clemson or Penn State. I think people are really excited about this game. It's one of those. I think I don't know what Michigan pods you're listening to, but if you're old enough, you just remember playing SC in all of the Rose Bowls, and always coming up short. So they were the kryptonite. And I looked at I was reading a story today. I think it was in the Athletic. It said since '97, Michigan is 1-10 west of the Rockies, and the one was against Alabama in the Rose Bowl in the national championship season in the semifinal. And so Michigan beat Washington State in '97, and then they beat Alabama in 2023 season in the Rose Bowl. In between that, 10 losses west of the Rockies. And I was going through them, Washington, Oregon, USC a bunch of times in there, including the Rose Bowl in 2003 season that I went to. And then, you keep clicking in there. I think that they have included Tempe, Arizona as west of the Rockies. And I don't know geographically if that's, actually correct, but I don't know. They play TCU and there are a couple other losses where, and then they play Texas in the Rose Bowl in that time frame. So there've been a few there. It does factor in Washington last year, Washington another time. They've taken steps to help themselves out there. There's Sharon Moore. I liked how he was talking about, it's not, a lot of times you hear these guys, it's business trip. Last year, he said, I don't know, groggy, getting in there on a Friday, trying to acclimate. So they get out there a day earlier. Jim Harbaugh has set up his practice facility. I don't know if a friend of mine sent me this picture, and I don't know if this was on social media or not, but it's a picture of the Chargers practice facility, the Bolt, and they've got the MGO Blue M Club banner papered across the I guess it wouldn't be papered across, displayed across the Chargers practice facility, the Bolt. So they're doing everything they possibly can that way to be ready. And let's see. DVR wants to run, but he wants Marsh's blocking better and getting into his routes better, besides the obvious subject. Yeah, I don't know. I would think put another thing into not wanting to get in a shootout. I would also like to play with the lead. I don't know what Michigan would be like if they had to put the ball in Underwood's hands and say, hey, look, you need to go out there and throw us back into that game. I'm not sure that, that maybe he's ready for that. I'm just not sure about it. That would be one thing that I would. I mean, but who's sitting around in any kind of game sitting on the road saying, you know what? Yeah, we don't care if we play from behind. Play from behind. We'll run it. We'll throw it. We'll do anything. Herm. Herb didn't sound right. It is Herm. Herm, which sounds a lot if you say it fast, like Herb, but it wasn't sounding right. Let's get Hadley, who has a long point to make here, and it's good. I don't mind long points. Next to Oklahoma's offense, this offense will be the best Michigan will have faced to this point. I think that's true. So I think the D is the one that has to play big to win. He's answering the question, offense or defense. And I don't think the Tigers will advance. The Bats will fail them again. A little hesitant Hadley today. So more on the defense. I'm going to go against you on both of those. I'm thinking because, and I like your thoughts. I understand completely where you're with the Tigers. I'll get to them coming up. But I say the offense, the defense, they could have played better against Oklahoma. They needed the offense against Oklahoma. Remember, the offense got shut out at the half. The offense ran for 42 yards in the first half. They couldn't do anything. When you have, I'm thinking that SC is scoring. Michigan is not shutting them out. They're not shutting down that passing attack. Michigan has got to put some touchdowns on the board. They've got to get close to 30 points or they're not going to win this game. So this, to me, is going to be more on the offense. And I've seen it from the defense. And you say, well, I don't know, the defense gave up 27, and you're right. This is the best team that they'll play. Nebraska put 27 on them, but the defense needs, their job is to keep it under 30, but the offense is to get close to 30. And that's why I would put it this game more on the defensive side. The funny part is that I didn't put special teams out there, and I think it's going to come down to Zavada making a kick to win this game. But you need an offense to put him in position to be able to do that. Do I remember Herm at ADU? Is that AZU? I remember him at Arizona State. Yeah, that's what. Yeah, I do. Herm just occurred to me. I'm not sure I've ever known of anyone other than Herm Edwards that is a Herm. Herman Munster, but not anybody else, just Herm. Herm going back to Arizona State reminds me, but he had so much less of course, of a profile than Bill Belichick. Herm just went in Arizona State and was like, bring in anybody, forget the rules. Let's just play. Let's just try to get the talent in here. And all cratered immediately. It was a laughing stock, and then he just hit a jack. And he was like, I'm out. See ya. And a little bit with what seems like what's going on with Belichick. The Jets should bring Herm back. You got to give him a little bit of time. Glenn, if the Lions would have bounced Dan Campbell after the first year or two, because the Lions stunk and everything else. Look where they would be. I mean, I'm not firing with very few instances. I would have fired Patricia, but I'm not firing a coach after 1 year. Oh, Clay's giving me the sense of other Michigan pods saying they act like Michigan is no good this year. Well, I don't know. I don't know what you're listening to. I don't know, what's going on. Night moves or Hollywood nights. With those Hollywood hills. She was looking so right. So I like that one. What's the other one? Night moves. Oh man, that's a tough one, but I'm gonna have to go with Hollywood Nights just because as I sing it, it seems like I know that one better. But the interesting part to that, Sam, as you're throwing that out there, both of these Bob Seger songs, is that when I was making the thumbnail for this show, I thought, what would be a good headline for that particular? And I went with Night Moves. I was thinking about putting Hollywood Nights because the game is at night. And then I was looking to where the Coliseum was. And man, Hollywood is pretty close. I mean, LA, it's all there. And Hollywood is. But if I wrote Hollywood Nights and somebody's like, it's not really holiday. I don't know the LA that, well, I know a City of Angels, but I'm not sure if Hollywood, if that would have been appropriate. I think it was close, but Night Moves with Seeger was able to, that's why I went with him. Like, there's no controversy. Nobody could be over there saying, why are you saying Hollywood when it's the LA Coliseum or whatever else. So that was the direction that I went. It wasn't that tough of a decision. I don't want to make it sound like it, but that there was the thought process of going down there. Too many Michigan fans defer to OSU even after beating them 4 in a row. I got news for you, Clay. I've got a friend who's probably just like these guys that you're talking about with the Michigan pods. My friend is the most miserable sports fan. I just talked to him this morning, and but he's always been like this. And so I said, tonight's going to be awesome, with Scooble. I know he's a huge Tigers fan. He's like, oh, they're going to lose it for sure. They can't, and I said, well, if they win, he's like, oh, Hinch is a joke, and I can't stand Harris. I mean, this is what he's saying this morning to me. And I said, that's last week or the week before talk. I get it. The full collapse. And everybody was, climbing aboard the hate train. Like, let's get all these son of a bitches out of here. We hate them. Well, then they beat Cleveland. And I was like, so what? I don't know. So what? I mean, you make the playoffs and you get a chance, and now they've got a chance. I said, well, what if they win? Are you still going to be MF and Harris if they go to the championship series against the Jays? He's like, you're damn right. He's like, the further they go, if they don't win it, makes it more to me. This is my friend talking that they should fire Harris because they just don't, like he said, tonight they're going to fall short there like Hadley because they can't hit. And if he would have gone out and got a bat or two, they could be in the American League Championship Series. So, and he's just so sure of himself. It's Harris's fault. And I said, wow, you really sound like you're going to enjoy this game tonight. He's like, oh yeah, I'm going to be watching. It's like, it doesn't sound like he's going to enjoy it. I mean, it's hate watching. Some people do it. It's a instinct to, if they, think everything's going to fall apart, want everybody fired if it doesn't happen. So if it goes that way, they can say, see, I told you. And I think it makes them feel better. And if they win, they don't care. It's like, oh, okay, I just have to deal with the criticism. I was angry. And they're football fans that are like that too. And let's say the majority of people that are doing Michigan pods, I mean, they're all just, big Uber fans. And a lot of them, it negativity pays, but just, it makes it more of, you say clickbait, but the more you can, well, you'd like to be honest about it. If somebody wants to be negative, that's fine. If you said, "Oh, I think Wink's going to blink," that's what my friend also is. That Tiger fan's a big Michigan fan, and at the end, I said, "Well, let's see where you're at with Michigan." He said, "Oh, they're probably going to lose this game. Wink will blitz too much." It's almost like I could have predicted what he was going to say. He's like, "They go out there, they never win on the West Coast. There's no way they're beating USC. They're." Sharon is going to go to a one-dimensional offense, and Wink is going to blitz too much, and they'll lose this game no matter what. And I said, well, I think they should run the ball out. He said, no, so he didn't agree with the game plan. He doesn't think Wink is going to go out there and have the defense coordinated where they will be able to hold USC down. So I said, sounds like you're going to have a great weekend. Miserable, but, hey, that's it. All right. Hollywood, due to USC being a theater school. That's new to me. I didn't know USC was a theater school. You know what I know about USC? Not much. I mean, I know about their football program, and I know that they're located the school in the heart of LA. I always thought myself that, I haven't been to the USC campus, but I've seen the pictures of the UCLA campus, and I just thought, man, if it came to USC and UCLA, I would pick UCLA every time. This is beautiful. And then I know that I like the Rose Bowl, but I also know that the Rose Bowl is, I don't know, was it 45 minutes? I don't know, who knows about with traffic. If you're a student, and how are you getting, you got to take a bus to the Rose Bowl in traffic. That doesn't sound like a great college time. I don't know, but that was just on the face of things when it came down to it in UCLA. All right. Let's see where we're at when it comes down. I put these numbers up on Wednesday. There they are. Again, very good passing attack statistically. USC, I do believe that. I do buy that. Michigan, scoring defense, where SC scoring defense, and the keys to the game, I do believe, remain front and center. Michigan rushing, and then from a Michigan standpoint, how their pass defense holds up. I think it's going to be there. Now, we are midway through the season after tomorrow night. Here we are. And if you just think about it for a second, if Michigan can get this win, the rest of the slate is, the rest of the slate's manageable to begin with. But, this is a tough game. USC, I'll give you my prediction in a moment. But, man, Washington at home, Michigan State. Michigan should beat Michigan State. They should beat Purdue. Should beat Northwestern. At Maryland, am I going to get worked up about Maryland? Maybe being a trap game. And Ohio State's at home. If Michigan wins tomorrow, they're going to the college football playoffs. Mark it down. And that's how I feel. So let it all hang out and go out there and win this game. Justice Haynes, biggest star of the game. I think that, having said all of the things that I've said about how I think that Michigan can run, I think they can get their screen game going. I think that offensively they should be able to move the ball and score some points. And I like the defense, where now Michigan has Berry and Hill back at the corners. They've got a lot of young guys with some experience, but they've got two guys coming off the edge that can disrupt this USC passing attack. I like how that sets up. But having said all of that, I like Michigan this way, I like Michigan that way, I think this is coming down to the fourth quarter. I think it's coming down like last year, where one of these teams is going to be facing 80 yards in a 3-point game, or, you got to score. I've predicted it all the way down to the final seconds where I have Dominic Zavada kicking a walk-off field goal and Michigan winning it 27-26. So I don't need the points. I think Michigan is going to win this one outright. And I think it's going to be a classic, and it's going to be 27-26. Now you predict something like that, then you kind of realize that you're thinking that this one's coming down and it's a coin toss. And, that's how I feel like it is going to be. You win this one, you're in such great shape. You're not out of it, of course, if you're U of M, because they could run the whole right side of the page if they end up on the short end and still have a legitimate chance. A little too early for me to, start talking about, oh, well, what about this team with 2 losses and all that? Sure. I get that. I'm not ready to go full Heather Dinich yet, for another month, but it's not all lost. But man, you put yourself in such a great position if they're able to get the victory. USC does need it more. I mean, they already have a loss in the Big Ten. So to Illinois, Michigan does not have that loss. That's why this Michigan, you can make the case that USC needs it more because USC is at home too. So, but the who needs it more? You can always argue Michigan needs it more if you're a Michigan fan because it's Michigan. Dinich, let's do it. Sam is asking how elusive is the quarterback from USC. Will Michigan be able to pressure the quarterback and get some pass rush? On the second part of that, I believe, yes, they will. He looks like he can move. He's not a statue. He looks like he can move around. I don't know if he's Jackson Dart, but I didn't know Jackson Dart could move around like he's been able to move around. He's like a little Lamar Jackson the way he's been running around. But Mayaba can move. He's got some, but he's not somebody that you would say that he is, real dangerous in the run game. He just looks like he's pretty athletic and can throw on the run. I mean, he's a good quarterback. But Illinois was able to, pressure him and pop him a few times, and and he wasn't great against them. Oh, so he looked good, but not great. So if Michigan gets a good quarterback that can throw it and run it, keep them to 26 points, I think Michigan can win the game. That's how and where I'm at. So finally, I'm going to baseball, and Hadley said it that he doesn't think the bats will be there for the Tigers, and I completely understand that. The bats haven't been around. I mean, last game they were. And I was like, what's this? More than 1 run? More than 2 runs? It was incredible, but I have moved from, just hope last game to you get to this game where you're giving the ball to the best pitcher in baseball. You're giving the ball to a guy that it doesn't matter how far you go back. You're a baseball fan. You're like Koufax, Gibson, the way these guys performed in the playoffs. Mickey Lolich in 1968. You just keep going. The way, Kurt Schilling pitched for the Red Sox and the Diamondbacks, or Bumgardner when he was with the Giants. I mean, the big mad bum, everything he was able to do. Even the Tigers in 2006, they had the gambler, Kenny Rogers, a big-time pitcher in a big spot, and this is everything. This is why you think about giving Skubal $450 million and to keep him around is to win a game like this. Give him a run or 2. The Tigers don't need 3 or 4 runs. I think they need 1 or 2. 1 or 2, and Skubal can get him to the ALCS. So this is what he has waited for his whole life, to be in a position like this, and he's going back home. He's from that area. I know he hasn't had success there, but if you were talking about another pitcher. You say, yeah, uh, this is the kind of guy. All of those names that I mentioned, he's got that kind of stuff, and he's that kind of pitcher. It could be the last time. I don't think so, but could be the last time we see him. But we've said that for a while. Oh, last time we'll see Scoop. That's it. Bye bye Scoop. Let's see it. Everybody has their wishes and their ideas of what they would do with Scoop. Mine's different than everyone else. I think that this it doesn't really matter. I mean, if it matters, of course, it matters with everything tonight. But just going into next season, I'm not trading Tarek Skubal in the off season. Now, if the Tigers went belly up and I don't know, like 5 or 6 back at the trading deadline next year, yes, then I would see what I could get for him there. But my idea is all these prospects that you think you're going to get, then before the season or in the off season, good luck. Maybe somebody will just give you a treasure trove of picks and you'll deal them. If I was the Yankees or the Angels or anybody else, I'd say let's just wait till next year. We don't have to give up anybody. We'll just give them $500 million. That's solved pretty easy. So this big haul that everybody you can't lose them for nothing. Well, thing is, anytime I hear anyone say that, is you're actually not losing him for nothing. If he pitches all next year for the Tigers, you have the best pitcher in the game for a season that you're trying to win the World Series. So put some players, get some offense around him. He is worth 1, 2, 3, whatever the prospects that you're going to get. He is worth that for 1 year. And oh yeah, it goes really well. Who's to say that you can't yourself dig down and cough up the $450 million or something else? I know that goes against what everybody else is saying, and I like hearing what everybody's opinion is. That's mine. Keep him. He's worth it, and you're not losing him for nothing. You're gaining the best pitcher in baseball for the entire season, and as you're watching him tonight win this game 1-0, and ask yourself, this is exactly the kind of guy we need if we're going to win it all. So that's my stance, and that's where I am at. Let's see what if anybody had any. Oh, Jack Morris. This is Jack Morris for the Twins or the Blue Jays. Wait, when he pitched for, did he go 10 scoreless or something? Jack Morris back in the early 90s? Yeah, Jack Morris, a good one to add to that list. Ferris is a big Tiger guy. When you're on TikTok, you see Ferris Eddie, he's making 10 TikToks about the Tigers. He's pointing out that he is 0-3 against the Mariners, but also lost last year to the Guardians. He's talking about 4 runs, Ferris. Give me 1 or 2, Ferris. Now you're talking about Torres, Glaber, Baez, Carpenter, Green, McKinstry. You get 4 runs. 4 runs. I'll do it. I'm going to do it. I guarantee that the Tigers will win the game tonight if they get 4 runs, Ferris. 1 or 2. I'll give him some credit. Ace pitchers now would have sat out. Salute to Scoobs. I don't know why he would be sitting out, but I don't know. Schilling. Ferris, I think he's talking to, I don't know. I got a little confused there. Let's go. 4 runs wins it. There you go. I got the Tigers winning it 2-1 and advancing. And then, it'll be a good problem to have. They'll play Sunday against the Jays, probably at night. You'll have the Lions on one channel. You have the Tigers on the other. Those are good problems to have. It reminds me back, no, you'd like to have them at opposite time. If it was be on Sunday, I'd like one of the games to start at 4 and the other game to start at 8. I get that, but I go back to 2008, 2009. You had the Pistons in the Eastern Conference Finals, or the Red Wings in the Stanley Cup Finals. I was at the Joe Louis Arena, in between periods. I'm going up to the suites to check out the Pistons and then back down. I mean, it's not bad. That's where you really get your head on a swivel and 2 games at the same time. Not that bad. All right, everyone, programming reminder. I got 2 things. One, I always tell you, because I mean it and I believe it, that you should, if you're a Michigan fan, you should join up with the Maize and Blue Review, and you do that by going to on3.com and subscribing, and all the things that come with subscribing, and the great stories and recruiting and everything else. But you also have a posting board there it was not a bunch of wild, flame throwing, insulting people. To me, I would say a nice, friendly community of like-minded sports fans. So what I see, I guarantee you'll like that. Also, tomorrow after the game, whenever it ends, Michigan USC, I'll be here. I'll be up. I'll be talking about the game, and we'll take you into Sunday morning, so we'll know all everything that we've been talking about now, and we'll see how we do. 27-26, I've got, 27-26, I've got Michigan, and I've got the Tigers winning 2-1. Let's see how I do. Take care, everybody. Enjoy the weekend. I know you will. Talk to you.